Live is on the air with full coverage of the Auburn Tigers,
Touchdown, Auburn!
the Alabama Crimson Tide,
Off to the inside, intercepted Alabama. Touchdown!
and everything college and high school sports. Now, let's join Andy, Brett, Randy, and Luke for this edition of Sports Blitz Live.
Good Saturday morning. Welcome into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. I'm Randy Lee alongside my good friend Scott Hardy, and we'll take your phone calls this morning till 9, 256-234-6221. Go ahead and get them in. If you're out and about in the state of Alabama and you're watching spring sports on the high school front, we'd love to hear from you. We know area championships are starting to be claimed. We've got playoff runs coming in the next couple of weeks, not only for soccer but baseball, softball. It's a fun time of year when it comes to high school sports, and we'll cover it for the first hour of the program today after this first segment, because Scott and I are going to dive into something that's impossible to not begin the program with today, and that's, of all things, Title IX. And the Title IX decision that was, I think, made yesterday to take that legislation, which let's start with Title IX for those out there that may not know what it is. It was really enacted to allow women's sports, in my opinion, to have the same opportunities that were given to the men on the college front, especially. Is that a fair statement to say? It's become a totally different piece of legislation. I'm talking to a political junket over here, so I'm looking at him like I'm expecting him to give a little bit more definition than what you're going to get from me this morning. But back when it was enacted, that was the premise of it, wasn't it, Scott?
Yeah, and primarily from a financial standpoint, too, it was to make sure that the resources that were being provided for your male athletes in those sports would be correlated to the same fashion that you would have in women's sports. And that is a necessity because there are a lot of female athletes, and so they should be receiving the same opportunities, whether that's scholarship money or whatever it may be. So it was really to ensure that there was equity. I'm not going to say equity. There was, we'll say equity across the board.
Equal opportunity.
Yeah.
So that was the reason that it was enacted. And I remember one thing. I was living in Mexico, and I was talking about soccer. And, of course, our men's soccer at the time, this was in the late 90s, early 2000s, and when I was living there, they were really bragging on our women's soccer. And they knew a lot about Title IX and the reasoning for women's athletics to get really where it went to during much of that stretch following Title IX. It was because of the college game, Scott. It was because of the funding. It was because of the opportunities. Our women, our girls were receiving way above and beyond what everyone else out there was receiving at the time, and it was the reason that I don't know that it's the only reason, but it was one of the main reasons that our women took it to the top of the world and really haven't relinquished that. At times we've lost, but for the most part, women's basketball in the United States is better than it is anywhere else. Women's track in the United States is better than it is anywhere else. Soccer, of course, is better than it is anywhere else. And a lot of that goes back. So I think when you want to look back and see if this legislation, there's a lot of people that want to throw darts at it, and it has become an academic deal at points, and it's become a lot different than what it was enacted for. But I'm on a sports program with you, and the reasoning for that has really worked out well for women and girls. Would you not agree with that?
Oh, for sure, and it puts some parameters in place and present some accountability measures that would allow or to ensure that the things that are put in place are being utilized properly. There are different facets of Title IX. Like you people typically think about the sports side, but you bring up the academics. That is a major component of the legislation as well. And for people who work in that, you're involved with Cleary stuff, you're involved in just anything that is related to the experience of a student athlete or a student in general. So that's become a major proponent or a component of these college administrations or Title IX positions, because you don't want to have to deal with any legislation any litigation that could come down from the federal side of things. So it's the resources was enacted for the resources, but now it's become a little more political, both on the state and federal level.
I don't want to get into all of that. I can have someone that knows a lot more about it than Scott and I do, even though Scott knows a lot more than I do about it, call in and give the reasons that maybe it hasn't been as positive as I'm painting it right now, but I'm still going to stick with the painting it positive. I've got a daughter. I would like for her to be an athlete. I think that she will be an athlete. Looking at her at 7 years old and seeing how much she enjoys sports, I enjoy coaching her, and I want her to know that, you know, competing and being part of athletics is not only good for my son. You got a son now, and hopefully y'all will have a daughter too, but I also think that it's equally as important for the girls' side. And you've got a father-in-law that coaches girls' athletics and believes in it and loves it. So you're looking at two that are saying that I think that legislation, for what it was originally started for, has been a positive. Now, what's going on in today's world makes absolutely no sense to me. I wanted to set the ground rules with that. But how in the world we're going to get to a point where we've got full-grown men, I mean full-grown men, fully intact men, by the way, no cutting, no getting rid of certain things, fully intact men out there competing with women. And my timeline, you and I are on, I don't know, multiple text threads together. And the only text I'm getting right now is this storyline around this. How it has gotten to this point is way beyond me. And the women are the ones that are having to fight it. If you watch what Riley Gaines just went through, first off, Riley Gaines ties this male in a swimming meet to win her third national championship, by the way. And the NCAA makes a decision due to all of the prestige that would come with giving the male the championship, that even though they tied on the time, she was not given the national championship. She was called the runner-up. And she's one of them out there as a figurehead right now trying to say, y'all, I mean, come on now. This was like the 400 and something ranked male in the United States, and now the #1 female in the world, breaking all kinds of records. We weren't made the same when it comes to that. Anyone that has played athletics knows that. Now, can a woman beat me in basketball at times? Absolutely, 100%. Can a woman beat LeBron James in basketball? Never. Ever. Can a woman beat Kobe, LeBron, any of our top male athletes in basketball? It shouldn't be allowed to be that way. But somehow we have allowed a political stance to become something that's really changing a legislation that I thought was a good legislation that's been good for this country and our girls.
Yeah, I mean, I think that from a personal point of view, I'm indifferent on a lot of different things as it relates to social issues. I'm of the belief, you know, as long as it doesn't cost me any money, you're free to do whatever you want to do. However, in this instance, and what's being pushed, we'll look at the NCAA for a moment. I don't necessarily think that this is their stance of agreement, but if you're receiving political pressure from outside entities that also help fund your organization, then you kind of have to stay in line. So it's worth taking the heat from those that are in opposition of it to ensure that you're not being counseled. Like, cancel culture has created this, so you can't say anything or do anything and speak as freely as maybe we once were able to as a country, and that's another topic for conversation, but it's all kind of revolving around the same thing. But to your point, I don't think that it's unfair to the women who have dedicated, you know, decades of their lives training and getting prepared for these large-scale sporting events to then lose the opportunity to receive the highest recognition because they lost to somebody who has a competitive advantage. Just biologically has a competitive advantage, and that's where it becomes a thing. If Title IX really was about that, was competitive equal opportunities, and this is not something that I think is going to benefit the games, because what's going to happen, you'll lose participation. Because, well, what's the point if I'm the best and I've worked to be the best, and now there's new things that are being allowed that prevent me from getting that recognition or the accomplishments that I deserve, then that's a problem. And I struggle a little bit at times when it comes to these types of things, because 60, 70 years ago, black people were dealing with the same thing. So it's eerily similar, but it's not. I don't want those two things to get civil rights, but how you can't compound it on top of what African Americans have dealt with. And so that's kind of been the crutch for other segments of the population to point to the civil rights movement and say, well, this is what happened with here, so we're just doing the same thing. And it's not. It's not the same thing. So I try to have an open mind about things, because I understand that, you know, people didn't want us competing in certain sports because they said, you know, we were more athletic, you know, whatever. But it's a tough time in America for a lot of different reasons. But sports was always the one thing that was a unifier, and now that's even become divisive. So it's tough.
Well, and I agree with you completely. And I can see where a civil rights position can be thrown into this, especially from the words you use and how you describe things. But, you know, back to the point that I think you're trying to make, if you're going to have men competing with women, it's not fair to the women. And somehow the women, including the black women, because if you look at track and field right now, you take Canada's, their top 3 track and field athletes are all men. And my guess is that all those sprinting events, there's not a single white female that's one of the top women athlete track and field. I hate to be that way, but I'm just stereotyping there. Most of your best sprinters are black, female, and men's side too. You can at times have an offset from that, but for the most part. So, gosh knows, it's taken away from things that were fought for back in the 60s and well before when it comes to black women by allowing men to compete. And if you watch this week, an MMA fight, those were a black male, that's a she now, fighting against a black female and cracked her skull. I mean, knocked her out and cracked her skull, and then they get she, I don't know, I get real confused on if I'm saying this right, she or he up there to talk, and it's a deeper voice than you and I've got right here. There's testosterone, I mean, flowing through every vein of their body. And you can understand that this just is not a fair fight whatsoever. And I'm trying my best. You and I are pretty good at this, so I had to start this morning because you and I can go back and forth. We can disagree, but we have fun disagreeing with each other. And I can learn something from you by disagreeing. And maybe at times I have had you tell me that things I told you 14 years ago that you may have changed your stance on a little bit. But at the time, they were really good back and forth. So I'm real confused on how this one, though, is even needing to be debated. How it's gotten to the point where a full intact male swimmer that was the 450th ranked college swimmer in the country is now the #1 female in the world, fully intact, completely all the testosterone you could ever want flowing through his veins, swimming against women, and we've had to get out here and have a conversation. Very odd.
Yeah, and what's triggered it is that you've seen a barrage of new legislation across the country on the state level, where there's been a lot of LGBTQ legislation and transgender legislation related to sports. And so the states were trying to create parameters for the individual communities that they were overseeing. Then that prompted the federal administration to come in and say, you know what, Title IX, though, is federal legislation, and that's going to override what you're doing. And so it's really I don't really want to go too deep into it, but there's just I think all of it is a moot point on both sides. Like I don't even understand how we're having the conversation, and it's distracting us from things that are actually should be taking place from debates. And
Amen.
That's the other part of this. So it's really, I think when you see stories like this, it's not unintentional. Like nobody does anything. If you're on that high of a level, whether it's state government or federal government, you're not doing anything without it being thought about and seeing how that's going to prompt something else. So all of this is a distraction of, job rates, unemployment rates, the decrease in the the dollar and what that means for the economy, not only nationally but internationally, and our relations with other countries.
Me and you and our kids.
Yeah. So I mean, there's things that are actually impacting the day-to-day lives of the citizens in this country aren't being debated. And when you bring up a serious issue, usually it's, all right, we're going to talk about something else, so you don't have to talk about that. So they don't want us informed enough to make educated decisions on who we should be putting in office. And that's what it boils down to.
Said it a lot better than I could. We'll go ahead and take our first break here on Sports Blitz.
What's the verdict?
Can't fix your heat pump. Need a new one.
Uh-oh. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking Daikin.
Call on Kevin Kill in Sunshine Heating and Air at 256-825-4849, Central Alabama's premier Daikin dealer.
So what's he thinking?
Oh, he's thinking Daikin.
Daikin, one of the top selling in the world.
Now I'm thinking Daikin.
Daikin. Comfort for life.
Russell Do-It Center and building supply stores have the tools and materials to get the job done right, whether you're a professional contractor or just a weekend do-it-yourselfer. With everyday customer conveniences like a drive-through lumberyard, price match promise, and our Best Rewards program, each of our 9 locations offer top brands and building materials like lumber, hardware, tools, paint, lawn and garden, and much more. Visit today and see what Russell Do-It Center and Building Supply can help you build tomorrow.
Don't be caught in a dirty vehicle. Lake Martin Mobile Detailing will have your vehicle or boat looking like brand new in no time, and you'll be back driving in style. They specialize in detailing, paint correction, gel coat restoration, and ceramic coating. Take it to the professionals at Lake Martin Mobile Detailing. Call them today at 256-794-2328 or stop by and see them at 702 McCarty Road in Dadeville. Mention this ad and receive $10 off. Lake Martin Mobile Detailing for your cleanest vehicles around.
Harold Orthodontics of Alex City has one simple mission: provide the region's most advanced diagnostic technology for you and your family's orthodontic and air passageway needs. At Harold Orthodontics, it's not just beautiful smiles, but revolutionary options for your family's orthodontic needs, as well as sleep apnea and jaw joint disorder relief. Dr. Harold and his caring staff provide the most accurate diagnosis to relieve the pain or frustration of sleep apnea and TMJ discomfort. Trust Harold Orthodontics. Call for a consultation at 256-234-6353.
Farmers and Merchants Bank of Dadeville is building a foundation of strength and trust in the entire Lake Martin community. With our modern branch in Dadeville and caring, attentive staff, we've established Farmers and Merchants Bank as a reliable friend to your banking needs. Whether it's just a savings or checking account or any commercial, auto, or real estate loan, Farmers has local decision-making to build a relationship with you and your needs. Farmers and Merchants Community Bank. Strength, service, community.
Hi, this is Brian Bice with Bice Motors. With our all-star lineup of Dodge trucks, Jeep, SUVs, and Chrysler cars, we offer the area team dedicated to making your next vehicle purchase a positive experience. Our sales team offers competitive pricing, and we back up all sales with a service department second to none. Bice Motors also offers the area's best selection of pre-owned vehicles. Visit Bice Motors at 2133 Cherokee Road in Alexander City.
Guaranteed lowest price. Buy it at Bice. Bice Motors.
Scott, you and I haven't been on air, so I'll get your take. College basketball comes to a close this past weekend. You have the women's side where LSU, after having a losing record 2 years ago, and Mulkey coming in as a coach, and I think she's now 60-8 in the last 2 years with that program. She completely flipped the roster. Went out there, I'm sure played the NIL game as well as you could play it on the women's side. She gets through, wins a national championship for LSU. Also a huge storyline was South Carolina going down, period. Iowa taking them down by 3 points there in the semifinals. Caitlin Clark and all the storylines around her. The women's game had a ton of good storylines. It really fed to the ratings being through the roof, didn't they?
Oh, absolutely. First, I do want to say, like, I am a Mulkey stan. Like, I love her. I just, not only as a coach, but her persona, and she's somebody that I'd want to go play for like that. And I think that's why she's been as successful as she has, is because she is a player's coach, but she understands what it takes to win too, both as a player and as a coach. Third now all time in national championships behind Gino and Pat Summit. So she's arguably, one of the top 2 or 3 coaches of all time. But the South Carolina loss, I really wanted LSU to have an opportunity to revenge their loss from earlier in the season. But as exciting, as entertaining as the men's side was, the women's bracket was a lot of fun to watch, and you had a lot of personalities with Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, and we may touch on that a little bit later too. But it was a lot of fun to watch. But the men's side, obviously, good to see a team like San Diego State make it that far. Very good basketball team, but at the time, UConn was the best team in the tournament, clearly by their point differential, and they showed that on Monday.
Well, we'll stick with the women's side, and we'll go to the storyline that you brought up. You look, part of the reason, I said this to Brett, and you can take it or leave it, and you can say that it's not part of the big storyline, but you had a primarily all-white team in Iowa and a primarily all-black team in South Carolina competing against each other, and you're going to get, in today's media world, probably always in the media world. You go back, I'm sure Indiana State and Michigan State, I'm sure it was the exact same. You're going to get storylines that you don't get elsewhere, and I don't know about you, I didn't have a clue who Caitlin Clark was until about 2 weeks ago, and then I watched her in the semifinal game, and I said, gosh, this is kind of some of the greatness that you and I are able to see when we go cover the high school championships. I know it doesn't quite get to that level, but there are players here in this state where you go and, Kelly's the one that's over there at Hoover that got Miss Basketball yesterday. I remember I've been watching her for 5 years now, and this year I just knew she was so much further ahead of everyone else, and she's going to North Carolina to play. But my point is in that competition level, you'll have these girls that exceed your expectations from their performance out there. And Caitlin Clark's was like that. I was like, I see this. I've seen this before. I've seen these girls that are exceptional, and she's the reason 41 points there in the semifinals was able to get past what was an unbeatable South Carolina team with Dawn Staley.
Yeah, that program is the new – well, LSU's there too.
They sure are. South Carolina too.
Yeah, but I thought that South Carolina kind of had elevated themselves to the UConn rim, the Tennessee rim when they were having those runs. But with Mulkey, LSU's going to be around for a while. But Caitlin Clark, fantastic player, and I love. We'll stay on the gender side first before we go to the race. I love anybody who has confidence in themselves to compete. I think a lot of times we look at reactions to things and we say, that's somebody being too egotistical or they're too conceited or they think, no, do you know how to succeed at a level like that, anything, whether it's professional or sports, you kind of do have to have a little bit of narcissism to think that, I'm better than you. You got to have a little bit with that.
I think Michael Jordan was the best ever at that. He had to find ways to get himself up. When you're that much better than the competition, night in and night out for the most part, you got to come up with things in your head that they may have said or may not have said. And he did that constantly. He would just get furious with a player, maybe with something that was said in the media that really you and I would have never thought was that big a deal. But he'd take it to level 10 as fast as he possibly could, and then he would go out there and just try to annihilate whoever he thought was bringing him down. So, yeah, the greatest athlete of my era was the very best at what you're saying, at getting himself motivated to compete.
Yeah, and I like that. And so there were people I followed Caitlin Clark through the year. It just didn't start in the tournament. She's been the best player all season. But I feel like when a male, when you have that type of bravado and you're a female athlete, it's not looked at the same way as it is the hand gesture. I think back to Auburn playing LSU and they give up the touchdown late. I think it's 09, and 08, 09, and Bird scores a touchdown. He does that like that. You know, everybody thought that was the coolest thing ever. And now Caitlin Clark does it. She didn't catch much flack, but there were men who were saying, you know, that's classless. And I get it. It could be considered that way. But when Angel Reese did it, it became a whole different conversation. And I do agree that there are times where we have different reactions to things based on who's doing it. And it could be subconscious, or it could be that that's just what it is. But I thought that the way that Angel Reese was portrayed for a couple of days there was pretty outrageous, because regardless, like, they're competing, and she just won the top in her sport, and she was celebrating that. And they're competitors. That's what you do. You see it on NBA level all the time. So I didn't have a problem with it at all. I didn't like the media reaction, but I thought that it distracted away from what was a heck of a season for women's college basketball and a great championship experience.
Not sure the parity's there for women's basketball. I mean, I think at times you can go out there and find a Caitlin Clark, and you can bring your program up like Iowa's brought their program up. But I'm not sure we're going to see the parity, and that's the storyline I want to go to on the men's side when we come back from this next break. Is there may not be a college sport that we've got better parity in than we do in the men's basketball game right now, and all of the NIL and transfers and all the things that go around that may be part of the reason that we're getting the parity that we are in that sport. And look, I'm here for it. I like it. You know, I'm not one. There's a lot of fans out there that want to see North Carolina and Duke play in a championship game every year, and count me one of those that doesn't want to see that. Unfortunately, I think you may see South Carolina and LSU in championship games with UConn and a couple others sprinkled in. But for the most part in the women's game, I think the halves are going to keep getting stronger and stronger. And we'll talk about the men's side when we come back. More Sports Blitz right after this.
Get ready for all the great food and great fun of the 2023 Gumbo Get Down in downtown Alex City, with live music, a kids zone, lots of great gumbo to try, and a whole lot more. It all happens Saturday, April 15th from noon to 3 p.m. downtown Alex City. Don't miss the fun, the music, and the food. Bring the whole family Saturday, April 15th from noon to 3 to downtown Alex City for the 2023 Gumbo Get Down.
Growing your business isn't just one thing, it's a million little things. Should you lease, rent, or own? How fast can you get that part? Does it fit the budget? That's what your local cat dealer is here for. With expert advice, flexible financing, and industry-leading equipment, you can get the job done, day after day. Visit ThompsonCat.com, your compact equipment provider.
You want the best opportunity to be successful in life. You deserve that opportunity. Well, you just happens to be in our motto, central to you, central to your success. Your future is right now. Don't wait. Make your dreams a reality by enrolling at Central Alabama Community College. Register today at cacc.edu.
Looking for an attorney you can trust for your real estate closings? Wisdom Law Firm at Lake Martin has you covered. Your real estate transactions are fast, convenient, and professional every step of the way. Wisdom Law is certified and licensed by the American Land and Title Association and approved by all local lenders. Visit Wisdom Law Firm at 6366 Highway 49 in Dadeville, or at their Auburn location at 2353 Bent Creek Road. No communication concerning a lawyer's legal services shall be published or broadcast unless it contains the following language, which shall be clearly legible or audible as the case may be. No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Alex City Internal Medicine and Nephrology and Weight Loss Center provides optimum care for the whole person. Dr. Dimo Popov specializes in the prevention and diagnosis of high blood pressure, kidney disease, diabetes, and acute and chronic conditions. Our weight loss clinic offers lipo shots and a guide to healthy weight loss. Alex City Internal Medicine and Nephrology and Weight Loss Center, where lifestyle changes are made.
Kalijah Idol 15, the semifinals, is happening in the River Region this Saturday night at Alabama's Little Bit of Texas. It's Kalijah Idol 15, the semifinals.
For more than 40 years, Ingram Equipment Company has helped companies, towns, and cities with their dirtiest, most challenging jobs by providing the very best equipment and by helping them keep in tip-top working condition. IEC represents leading manufacturers such as Heil garbage truck bodies, Timco sweepers, Step pothole patchers, and many more. We proudly support all athletes and teams that compete across the state and wish them good luck this year. Ingram Equipment Company, ingramequipment.net.
Scott, I hate the one and done. I've said that time and time again. Having a conversation with my son yesterday, who is a basketball freak. He knows more basketball than I do. It's all I think he watches on the phone. It's all he thinks about. And I was trying to explain to him that Kobe went to the league out of high school. He has no concept of what that means. And LeBron went to the league out of high school. He really is confused with that. He thinks that you're supposed to go to college for 1 year and then you can go to the pro game. I wish we would go back. I wish basketball would enact the rules that we've got in football and baseball. I have no clue why it can't work. What we have in baseball can't work in basketball. If you want to go to the pro game, go. But if you don't, come to college, and we'd like to have you for 3 years. I don't think anything I'm saying is going to be worked on. I don't think it's going to work out that way. But college basketball may be in a better spot than we've ever had it in my opinion, from a parity standpoint. The one thing that I would like to add, and we'll go to the parity and we'll kind of applaud that, but the one thing that I would like to see is maybe more continuity with teams and building of teams rather than just wholesale turnover of teams each year.
Yeah, and that wholesale turnover is what actually has caused your traditional blue bloods to diminish in their program some, is because they haven't been able to build programs. And so people were comfortable, unless you were, just a stud, you probably weren't playing as a freshman. And that was okay. Now there's an expectation that if I'm not playing immediately, then I'm going to transfer out, or I'm just going to finish out the season, I'm going to declare for the draft. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think it would be better for the college game if you could get that 3 year, even 2. I think 2, even if you didn't want to go 3, 2 would probably still work. But the difference, I guess, with baseball and the basketball side, at least if you go directly to the pros, there's a minor league system in play where you could, they're not expecting you to be a contributor right away. In basketball, if you go straight to the league and you're a lottery pick, there's an expectation that you got to perform immediately. And a lot of times, like Jabari Smith probably could have gone straight to the league, I think. But, it served him well to be in college. And he probably could have done much. Auburn's program, if you think about it, like Bruce was talking about it, if he'd have still had, like, Chuma and
Okoro.
And then, that's what the team would be. And so you think about it in that regard, and it's like, man, we're pulling those types of guys. But I'm with you. I think it needs to be just go, and that's fine.
Yes.
Or say you have to stay this amount of time. 1 year is a joke. I don't think that's doing anything for anybody.
Well, a kid's on campus like 6 or 8 months, and then the kid's gone. And, the Isaac Okoros and the Jabari Smiths, and we had Walker Kessler, and he had an additional year at North Carolina, but really he's on campus at Auburn for 6 or 8 months, and then he's gone, and it's understood. I get why, but I would love to see some continuity built, and I don't think that we're going to get it in today's game. And you look at Alabama. I have no clue who they're going to throw on the court next year. Really, it is all their coaches are gone. Pretty much their entire squad is gone, and we'll catch up with Luke Robinson in the second hour, and he can comment on this. By the way, I love Petway getting the job. I think Petway's kind of he's one of those guys that once he gets away from Alabama for the first time, I'm not saying that what he did at Alabama was great and he's well thought of there, but he's got the feel of a guy that's going to be a big-time coach. I always kind of like to weigh in, would I ever want him to be my coach? Yeah, I wouldn't mind him being my coach. Kind of said that about Bucky over at Samford. If he ever ended up at Auburn coach, please, more power to him. Petway's that way at Alabama. I've always liked the way that he carries himself. I liked him as a player. I liked all the leadership qualities that he shows, so congratulations to him. But nonetheless, there's nobody left there at Alabama but Nate Oates. And you look at Auburn, Auburn's in the same boat. Got Janai that we know is coming back, Jalen Williams potentially coming back, Flanagan, who knows, KD, who knows. It's you got Holloway coming in, a lot of transfers. I think we got room for 5 more to transfer into the program. There's just no continuity. There's nothing you can do outside of building a complete new team year in and year out, maybe around 1 or 2 pieces that you're able to hold on to. Not saying that it's hurt the game. I don't think it's hurt the game, but it really makes it hard when you've got a good team put together.
Yeah, and I think it makes it kind of difficult, too, to project from year to year performance. And so based on, you know, the parameters that you have within the college system now, if I'm a head coach at a program, like, you go have to give me time, or if, like, we have a slightly down year or maybe didn't meet expectations, I think you're, as a coach, probably given a little more leeway now because the turnover is so high. So before, you might have only brought in 1 or 2 guys a class because you had, you know, a full roster coming back pretty much every year. Kentucky was a little bit different, obviously, with what Cal was able to do. But realistically speaking, let's say Nate Oates, Alabama won't have a bad year. I'm not saying that. But if they did win 17, 18 games next year, it's not really on the coach. I mean, because you can't build a roster this way. It's just like when we used to talk about trying to get offensive linemen from JUCO. Like, that's great in the short term, but you can't build your team doing it that way. And I think we're seeing it on the college basketball level too. You know,
you talked about the recruiting class that Auburn potentially has coming in 2 years. Could be a special one. Junior LeBaron Philon named Mr. Basketball in the state of Alabama yesterday. Very deserving with points and where he took that Baker program to. And yes, they've had some decent runs in the past, but I never think of Baker really as like a McGill or someone that I almost expect it from year in and year out right now. But big-time get. And I wonder, I'm going to look back through the list and try to pick out the last Mr. Basketball in the state of Alabama that Auburn signed.
Was Frankie Mr. Basketball?
Probably Frankie Sullivan was. I know Doc Robinson was over at Selma, but other thoughts, any other Mr. Basketballs in the state? And I'm going to run down that list, but kind of shoot over to that. That's a big get for Auburn already.
Oh, absolutely, and that's what we were talking about in the break is, like, you know, there's going to be so many spots that need to be filled this season, and I was saying, you know, if they can just get to 24, they've got, you know, Baby Shaq coming. I mean, there's some guys coming in, so if you're Bruce, I think that you're just trying to find some guys that maybe can give you a couple more years to bridge that gap between that 24 class.
Let's run down the list of former Mr. Basketballs here in the state of Alabama, and some of them are names that we know well, and a lot of them went to the University of Alabama. Starting last year, Barry Dunning Jr. heads over to Arkansas, starts getting some mop-up time late in the season, but really didn't have the splash that many thought that he may over at Arkansas, but it's probably coming. J.D. Davison had it the previous 2 years, and the 2 years before that was Trenton Watford. John Petty Jr. won it in 16 and 17. Dazon Ingram in 15. William Lee, who was the big shot-blocking presence from Plantersville, Alabama, was won back in 2014. De'Runnya Wilson. Craig Sword in 12. Trevor Lacey won it in back-to-back years in 10 and 11. He was there at Alabama. Karan Johnson, who was Carry-On's brother, won it back in 2009. JaMychal Green, who went to Alabama. Haven't gotten to an Auburn one yet. Richard Hendricks in 5. Ronald Still in 4 and 3. Kennedy Winston in 2. Pretty much every year it feels like Mr. Basketball went to the University of Alabama. Gerald Wallace in 2000. Marvin Stone back in 99. Still haven't gotten to one. Sam Hagenis, Anthony Williams in 97, Isaac Spencer. I think Doc Robinson won it in 95, but I could be off there. But not a single player in any of that list that went to Auburn. So it's a big get for Auburn to go out there and get Mr. Basketball and get him as a junior, where most know that he's going to probably put on a show again next year.
Yeah, and I think that probably shows where the program is more than anything, is like we're not scrambling next year like this. He made the decision when you're the nation's leading scorer. So I'm going, you know, up the road to Auburn. So I think this is a tremendous get, and I'm looking very much forward to seeing him in orange and blue.
We'll run down the other award recipients yesterday from the girls and the boys side. Each classification had their players of the year, and we'll name each of those. But again, as two Auburn fans sitting up here for the first time as far as I can go back, LeBaron Philon committed to Auburn University and was named Mr. Basketball as a junior with a really good chance, I'm sure, of winning it again next year as a senior. We'll go ahead and take another break here on Sports Blitz.
Hi, this is Brian Bice with Bice Motors. With our all-star lineup of Dodge trucks, Jeep, SUVs, and Chrysler cars, we offer the area team dedicated to making your next vehicle purchase a positive experience. Our sales team offers competitive pricing, and we back up all sales with a service department second to none. Bice Motors also offers the area's best selection of pre-owned vehicles. Visit Bice Motors at 2133 Cherokee Road in Alexander City.
Guaranteed lowest price. Buy it at Bice. Bice Motors.
Hey, honey, it's Mom. Just wanted to call and check in, see how everything's going. You'll probably say not to worry. Everything is great. But we miss you. I'll call you back later. How are you? Tell me everything.
Everything's great. I love it here.
This is Joseph Dean with Alabama Funeral Homes. As many of you are aware, we had a fire that significantly damaged our facilities. We are in the process of getting those rebuilt. We apologize for any inconvenience this may have caused the families that we serve. I want you to know that we are capable of handling all of your needs at Frederick Dean Funeral Home of Opelika, which will be servicing Alabama Funeral Homes families. We can be reached at our same number, 256-896-4502, or by email at joseph@alabamafuneralhomes.com.
You've dreamed about the perfect house, a place to call your own, and a place to not only stretch out, but to grow. Auto Owners protects your house because to you, it's home. That's simple human sense. Happy to help, man. I was just over there talking to myself anyway.
Hey guys, this is Nate Pass with Airport Motors.
I'm Connor Branch with Fairway Auto Brokers in Opelika, Alabama.
And this is your first ever Lake Martin Summer Car Blitz.
That's right, Lake Martin. Airport Motors and Fairway Auto Brokers is teaming up for the very first Lake Martin Summer Car Blitz. Make sure to check out either website for the very best selection of pre-owned luxury trucks, SUVs, and sedans in East Alabama. Get pre-approved in minutes online and make sure to use the keyword Summer Blitz in the comments section for $500 off internet price. That's keyword Summer Blitz.
WF Cabinetry in Alex City has immediate openings for first and second shift production roles in addition to immediate openings for Class A CDL drivers with the ability to be at home weekly. We are ready for you to join our family and grow with us. Prior cabinet experience is always welcome. Second shift offers a flexible 10-hour, 4-day work schedule, giving you a great work-life balance right here at home. WF Cabinetry offers excellent health insurance and 401k benefits, as well as an employee purchase discount with daily production bonus opportunities. You can apply in person at 2212 Airport Boulevard in Alexander City or call 256-234-7900.
Welcome back into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. Got about an hour and 15 minutes left on the program today. Running down Mr. and Miss Basketball in the state of Alabama as those were named yesterday. A lot of these names, Scott and I with AHSAA Radio Network have had the good opportunity of seeing over in Birmingham playing for championships. On the girls' side, maybe even more than the boys' side, Scott, you'll see these great players for 5 years. They'll start in a program. They'll be the best player on the team in the 8th grade a lot of times. And then you'll see them year in and year out. And Renaya Kelly, who was named Miss Basketball, the third from Hoover High School, they are now have the most Miss Basketballs ever named, and that's going to continue to rise with the way that program's coached and how great a job that they do over there. But Renaya Kelly was a 4-time All-State player. She played point guard. She's going to North Carolina next year. Don't know if you had the opportunity to call a game with her in it, Scott, but she's about 5'7". She's got a good, nice, muscular build. You know, she's not that long, lengthy, but she's brilliant. Some athletes you watch and you go, I don't know what their IQ is, but it's way higher than mine and most that I know in this sport right here. And Renee Kelly was that way. I've always been impressed with her, and congratulations to her and Hoover for getting Miss Basketball yesterday.
Oh, yeah, I mean, she can get buckets, and she's an excellent distributor. I mean, she's just her IQ, her basketball IQ is phenomenal. Has obviously a great coach and Coach Johnson too that could elevate that, but she's unreal, and I think she'll be a star too at North Carolina.
Another thing that separates her from a lot of really good players is defensively when they're in the press. Oh, she just steals balls that she makes it look so easy. And I have the good fortune of coaching young kids now in travel basketball, and I have the good fortune of seeing some of our kids, and they're young and they're talented, but they don't really know what they're doing. But their talent just supersedes anything you coach. And I got one in my mind right now, and he's only a second grader. But, I mean, he just innately goes and attacks the basketball. It's A.J. Moons, A.J.'s Trisha's son. And A.J. just attacks the basketball. He's going to steal the ball. One out every 2 times you're going to throw it in. If we're impressed, he's going to take it away from the opposition. And most of the time they're twice as tall as he is because he's younger than everybody out there. But Renee Kelly's that way. She's special when it comes to the defensive side, and in basketball, I don't know that we talk enough about that. You know, how great defensive players can take it to the next level. Your Alabama Sports Writers Association Super All-State team, which is just 5 that make this team. Renee Kelly, as we mentioned, Leah Brooks from Hazel Green, Syria Daniels, who is Marquise Daniels' son over at Auburn, Ace Austin from Spring Garden, and Jordan Crook from Ohatchee. Ace Austin's one that I've seen her at Spring Garden since 7th grade. She's going to leave high school basketball here in this state. I think she's a sophomore right now. She's going to have stupid numbers. She'll score 3,500 to 4,000 points, and she'll dish it out, and they'll win 4 or 5 state championships. Scott, in the lower classifications, when you get a great player like that, you just ride them out, don't you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, and we sit on the girls' side a lot, with, like you said, playing 7th, 8th grade younger, but at a lower classification like that, you legitimately could go on some runs where you get 4 or 5, and like that carries your program for a while.
You know, I'll bring up one right here as an 8th grader in Bell Hill. Actually, I think she may be a 7th grader. She's a 7th or 8th grader, and she is strong. She's got a physical frame. She's about 5'8". She's the 2A player of the year, and she just owned the 2A championship semifinals and the finals. But Bell Hill was named the 2A player of the year. I'll start down there in Class 1A. Ace Austin was named the player of the year. In Class 3A, Jordan Crook from Ohatchee was named the player of the year. Deschler's Chloe Siegel, who I think has the national high school record for made three-point shots. From Deschler, named the player of the year in Class 4A. In Class 5A, Olivia Vandergriff from Gunnersville High School was named the player of the year. She lost a heartbreaking game in the regionals that kept that Gunnersville team from making it to another state championship. They had won the state championship the previous year, but it was not due to the play of Olivia Vandergriff. She was exceptional all year long. Leah Brooks from Class 6A's Hazel Green was the player of the year. Scott, there's not a program in the state of Alabama that's on a run and stronger in a classification than the Hazel Green is right now. You can make the argument Fife in football has been that way, but Hazel Green in basketball led by Tim Miller, and they just don't get competed with very often.
How many is it in a row?
I think it's 6 in a row. I want to say Tim Miller's won either 11 or 12 now total. He was at Bob Jones, if you remember, before he heads over to Hazel Green. And he's just won one state championship after another, no matter where he is. So that's due to coaching.
Yeah.
And it's also due to picking programs that your system is going to work in. And Tim Miller's as good as we have here in the state of Alabama, and Hazel Green's as good of a program as we have. Hoover would argue that. Hoover broke that record. Renee Kelly and Hoover ended that long Hazel Green run. I think it was 87 straight wins, and Hoover did beat them earlier in the year. And Hoover lost a couple of games this year, but none in state. Only games they lost were in tournaments out of state. Hoover wins another state championship, and their star in Renee Kelly was named the player of the year. When we come back, we'll run down the boys' Mr. Basketball recipients. We've already mentioned, Baker High School's got their first Mr. Basketball, and congratulations to him. We'll talk about him a little bit more when we come back, but also name the players of the year in each classification. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Whether it's Lake Martin, Lay Lake, or Logan Martin, boaters from all over the state of Alabama come to Alex City Marine, just off Highway 280 in Alexander City, Alabama, because it's worth the drive. With the best deals on unbeatable Suzuki outboards, Manitou and Landau Tritoons, and a great pre-owned inventory while they last. Alex City Marine is the pros the locals know. And no matter where you're from, when you're here, you're local to us. Alex City Marine, just off Highway 280 in Alexander City, Alabama. AlexCityMarine.com.
WOTM is the television provider for all Alabama High School Athletic Association championship events and special programs. WOTM is your home for the Super 7 football, state finals basketball, baseball and softball state championships, the AHSAA weekly show, and WOTM also produced the first ever football playoff show, Super 7 preview show, and reclassification reveal show. Your exclusive home for all things AHSAA is WOTM. Contact your local cable provider to request WOTM to your channel lineup.
You don't have to ask who, what, or why. Who's Diner is the go-to place for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Conveniently located at the corner of Highway 22 and 280 in Alex City. Who's Diner offers the best meals and the best deals in town. Try our fresh, made-from-scratch pancakes, chicken salad, Philly cheesesteak, or the Who Burger. It doesn't get any better than who? Who's Diner, of course, on the corner of Highway 22 and 280. Who's hungry?
Forbes Auto Sales, located on Highway 280 in Kellyton, is all about selection and service. Selection of clean, sharp used cars, trucks, and SUVs selected by Robert Forbes himself. Service. Forbes Auto Sales is all about servicing vehicles on the lot, but also servicing your personal vehicle. Keep this in mind. If you don't see what you're looking for on the lot, just tell old Robert to go shopping for you. That's what he does. Personal service, and that's what it's all about at Forbes Auto Sales in Kellyton.
The same professionals you've trusted with your urgent care is now your primary health provider, Main Street Family Care. We provide annual physical exams as well as monitoring health conditions such as high blood pressure, diabetes, asthma, and more. All major insurances accepted, Medicaid, Medicare, and have self-pay options to accommodate everyone. See us in Alex City, just across from Walmart. Your care is our primary concern.
Main Street Family Urgent Care. Heal better, feel better fast.
Why is Sarah Automotive Group on Highway 280 in Sylacauga the place for the best deals on your new ride? 3 compelling reasons. 1. With 3 full new car dealers on one lot, you get the best in comparison and incentives on Fords, Hondas, and Nissans. Unmatched selection. 2. Sarah pays over market value for your trade to maintain East Central Alabama's best pre-owned vehicle selection and sales. And 3. The Sarah Automotive price won't be beat and delivers lower payments and huge value on your next buy. Shop online or on Highway 280 in Sylacauga.
Congratulations to Baker High School's LeBaron Philon for winning Mr. Basketball. We mentioned that earlier in the program, and big-time win for him. We went back and ran through the Mr. Basketballs here in the state of Alabama, and a lot of them have doubled up. They'll win it as a junior, and then they'll win it again as a senior. So we'll see if LeBaron Philon's able to do that. The Alabama Sports Writers Association in Class 7A had Jacoby Hill finish second. I think he's a sophomore, if memory serves me correct, getting that Phoenix City squad to the state championship game. And then Wynn Miller, who I think scored over 2,000 points in his career at Vestavia Hills, was the third finisher there in the top 3 in that class. Let's run down the Alabama Sports Writers Association Super All-State team, which is just 5 members of this team each year. It's LeBaron Philon from Baker, Caleb Holt from Buckhorn, John Broom from Jacksonville, Chase McCarty from Westminster Christian, and Wynn Miller, we just mentioned, from Vestavia. That's a solid group right there. Probably the most, well, don't tell LeBaron Philon I said this, but Caleb Holt is a slap pro. I had so many around me come up while we were there broadcasting and go, Caleb Holt is the best 9th grade talent that I have seen. And he really came out of nowhere. About midway through the year, I wasn't hearing about Buckhorn. you and I were watching Class 6A because we knew we had a great team here at Benjamin Russell, and who were we going to match up with? Did you know who Caleb Holt was midway through the year?
Nah.
And he gets in the tournament, and, I mean, he takes it to the semifinal. What does he go, 34-17 in the semis, and then against Mountain Brook in the finals, I think he goes 36-18 or something. He's only a 9th grader. He's like 6'6", 6'7", got already the frame that you're looking for. Special player, Scott.
Yeah, it helps when you're 6'6", 6'7" as a 14-year-old. So you can't really. There's nothing you can coach with that. But he's going to be special for a long time, and I think Alabama's very excited. I think to see the progression of all that they put in to make basketball as popular as it's become.
So those were your top 5, your Alabama Sports Writers Association. In Class 6A, Caleb Holt did win Mr. Basketball, Player of the Year, followed by Ty Davis from Mountain Brook and Caleb White from Pinson Valley. In Class 5A, it was Austin Cross from Charles Henderson winning Player of the Year. I'm a little surprised that Cameron Dooley from Valley didn't win Player of the Year, but he's a junior. He's got a chance to come back and win it again next year, and that Valley team went undefeated on the season, and Cameron Dooley is a special athlete, and I would suspect that he'll have a chance to do that next year. John Broom from Jacksonville won Player of the Year in Class 4A. In Class 3A, it was Alex Odom from Piedmont winning Player of the Year. Class 2A, Jacob St. Clair from Sandrock was your Player of the Year, and in Class 1A, it was Jaden Nixon from right here close to us in Otaugaville winning Player of the Year. AHSAA's Player of the Year was Jacob Wilson from Macon East. Those are all your Mr. Basketball winners. And, Scott, just to wrap up high school basketball, and we're already well into spring sports, but always great to see these events where these kids get recognized for all the efforts and the talent that they have. And it's special for the communities to have someone represent them the way that each of these boys and girls have for their communities.
Oh, for sure. And, again, like that's what makes high school athletics what it is. It's community-based. And so when you have the opportunity to represent your community and your school and then to receive that recognition, I think is always a great thing.
We'll go ahead and take our last break here in the first hour and come back over in the second hour of the program. We're going to move over and talk college athletics. We got A-Day games coming up. I don't think we'll be playing one in Auburn today.
Yeah, this,
if it is, it's going to be a mud bog out there. And so we'll see if we have any update from that. We'll have Luke Robinson hopefully start this second hour of the program with us. A lot of storylines around who's going to win the quarterbacking job there at the University of Alabama. Of course, that's always, it seems like, a storyline at Auburn. There's ebbs and flows going on in college basketball with roster turnovers and wholesale coaching turnovers at Alabama and Auburn, and we'll talk about those. And then we'll try to run down SEC rankings in baseball and softball and see how both Auburn and Alabama are doing. I know Auburn lost the series to Texas A&M with a loss last night. Did win one of the three, and it's been a tough road to hoe to start the season there, and then we'll run down the softball rankings as well. But we'll take your phone calls here in the second hour, 256-234-6221.
There's only one clear choice in the Lake Martin area for plumbing, heating, and air. That's All Clear Plumbing and Air. Our professionally trained technicians offer full-service repair and installation on all major brands. From drips to water heaters, thermostats to entire air conditioning and heating systems, and everything in between. Our fast, reliable, and guaranteed top-notch customer service will keep you informed and up to speed through the entire process. Call us today or look for us on Facebook and Instagram at All Clear Plumbing and Air, 256-496-2056. License number 19172.
Hi, this is Jimmy Goree, Goree's Furniture. Come join us for the Madness of March. Come join us here at Goree's Furniture. Make a purchase, shoot from the line, 5, 10 to 15. That's % discount off your total ticket. So come join us. Let's have fun. Everyone's a winner. Everyone will save. Come join us for the Madness of March, and that's only at Goree's Furniture.
If you haven't been to Big B Barbecue in Alex City, then you're missing the best barbecue around. Big B has everything from the best pulled or chopped pork, chicken, and beef to cheeseburgers and grilled chicken salads. Bring your friends and family out for a great dinner and sit outside on our beautiful patio, or sit inside and enjoy your meal by the fireplace. So come in and join us and enjoy the best barbecue in the area only at Big B Barbecue, located on Highway 22 West in Alex City.
Talladega Outdoors in Talladega is your authorized Kawasaki sale and service center. Your home for Bad Boy mowers and Kimco scooters, four-wheelers, and side-by-sides. Rather for hunting, land management, or recreation, they have the ride for you. But they are also everything outdoor with full lines of accessories and is now your Ariat workwear and boot store, along with kayaks and outdoor accessories. Talladega Outdoor, Highway 21 in Talladega. Everything outdoor and Alabama's #1 Kawasaki dealer.
Hi, this is Brian Bice with Bice Motors. With our all-star lineup of Dodge trucks, Jeep, SUVs, and Chrysler cars, we offer the area team dedicated to making your next vehicle purchase a positive experience. Our sales team offers competitive pricing, and we back up all sales with a service department second to none. Bice Motors also offers the area's best selection of pre-owned vehicles. Visit Bice Motors at 2133 Cherokee Road in Alexander City.
Guaranteed lowest price. Buy it at Bice. Bice Motors.
Welcome back into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. Glad to have you on the program with us for another hour this morning, up until the 9 o'clock hour. 256-234-6221 is our phone number. Give us a call. Glad to have James on the air with us. James, glad to have you, buddy.
Good seeing you guys. How y'all doing?
We're doing great.
James.
I got a little bit of an update on Andy. I hadn't checked on him in about 2 weeks, and I hadn't been able to get to the show up very much. We've been busy. But anyway, I was just going to say that, Scott, I got to get on you. I don't see you that often. Is that baby sleeping all right?
Yeah, he's sleeping just fine, or at least that's what my wife tells me because I'm asleep.
Oh, man, you got him trained. There you go. But anyway, I was just, since it's the end of spring training here, I guess we can talk about some stuff. But real quick, a couple of things. How do you guys see the quarterback situation? One, and two, it looks to me like he's taken these people and put them together. He's got some good offensive linemen. I mean, I better keep my fingers crossed when I say that, but it looks like that anyway. And I'm just really upbeat about our chances this fall, and I'm damn sure ready for it. I know that. We'll make old Luke stay away. But if you talk to him, tell him I asked about him too. But anyway, I hope y'all are doing well. I'm just a big war eagle, everybody. I've kind of been, like I said, I've been kind of busy the last couple of 3 weeks, and I haven't kept up with everything. So anyway, y'all do a great job as always, and take care. War Eagle.
War Eagle to you. Appreciate the phone call, James. And I will take this opportunity to give an update on Andy Graham. Andy is home. Continue to pray for Andy out there, especially during this Easter holiday and this Easter weekend. Andy had been in the hospital up at UAB for an extended period of time, has turned for the better in the last couple of weeks. Brett was out there able to visit with Andy yesterday, and he's talking, he's feeling better. Really doesn't have much of a memory on what's gone on over the last month, but we're all just thrilled that he's back, and hope to have him back up here leading the charge as soon as we can get him back here. I promise you I will step aside as happily as I possibly could to let Andy, and so continue to pray for Andy Graham out there. It was really good news. Before we go and talk Auburn, and James, we promise we'll hit up Auburn here shortly, but we got another phone call holding on. It happens to be James' buddy Luke. Luke, glad to have you with us this morning.
Yeah, how's it going, guys?
We're good, Luke. James wanted us to tell you hello. I don't know if you were listening in, but James is hoping that Auburn's got something to talk about and we don't have to sit up here and see you grin for the next 10 years, Luke.
Well, I mean, we'll just have to see. I mean, look, I've been grinning for a while when it comes to football. I've been grinning a little bit when it's come to basketball recently. So there could be some downtimes coming for basketball next year just because there'll be so much turnover. But I think the football team's going to be pretty doggone good again, and I like the reports I heard out of spring practice yesterday.
Well, let's start with basketball. Antoine Petway moving on, going to be a head coach, was a tremendous player there, a great leader, has moved over and done a really good job of recruiting and coaching. I'm sure the Alabama fan base is proud for him and expect big things out of him in the future.
Yeah, I think everybody, for the most part, totally understands this. I went on a radio show like I do every Wednesday, and I said at the time I didn't think he was going to get the job. I really didn't. And then I was actually playing basketball with a couple of former Alabama guys yesterday. They didn't think he was get the job, and then lo and behold, by the time we were done, they announced that he was getting the job. And look, more power to him. I think that goes along with the theme of underestimating Antoine Petway his whole life. I mean, he didn't have a scholarship to Alabama at first, then he earns his way there. People would have said, okay, well, maybe he earned a scholarship, but he's not going to be much of a contributor. Well, he ended up being a fantastic contributor. I mean, he's really the only reason that Alabama was able to get out of the first round of the NCAA tournament in 2004 and make that run to the Elite Eight. I mean, he had a huge shot. I think it was against Southern Illinois in the very first game. And then Alabama goes on to beat Stanford and Syracuse, and they run up on a UConn team that was better than the UConn team this year. I mean, that team was just, whew, they were good. But and then you're thinking, okay, maybe Antoine will get to be a high school coach somewhere. Well, he ends up on Alabama's staff eventually, and he turns out to be a fantastic recruiter. He learns the game. He's learned it from a couple of different coaches now, and he's going to get his opportunity. And I'm super proud for him. Yes, it hurts because I thought he might be an Alabama lifer. But, if you were a lifer as an assistant, and it shouldn't be this way, but if you were a lifer as an assistant, people look at you like, well, you've just hit your ceiling. That's all you can do. And it's almost looked at as a negative. And I'm glad that he was able to break through that. And I'm hoping he can go and prove himself and do some great things at Kennesaw State. And hopefully, maybe one day he can come back and coach Alabama. Who knows? So he's the kind of guy that's got that in him. And he's just a really fantastic player. He was a fantastic coach. He's an even better human being, and I wish him the best.
Luke, who's left on this Alabama roster? Just Auburn's kind of looking at the same wholesale turnover. I mean, there may be a couple of players that they can put back in the lineup that you can count on, but it feels like Auburn and Alabama have wholesale turnover when it comes to the roster.
Yeah, Alabama's definitely going to be dealing with a lot of holes this year. I mean, we got 3 assistants gone now. Nobody has taken their places as of yet. You've got the best player in Alabama history, arguably. I don't even know if it's an argument. I think Brandon Miller's probably the best player that's ever come through this program. And then you have Noah Clowney, who was one of the best freshmen to come through this program. I don't think he's in Brandon Miller's category, but he's really, really good. He's gone. You have Namari Burnett, who was nice. He was a very nice player last year. That certainly is not a program killer, nor is Jaden Bradley's absence. And it kind of makes some sense because Bradley's not a great three-point shooter. It really is sense to be a big threat from outside, and that's not his forte. You lose Noah Gurley. Gosh, I mean, I'm trying to think. Charles Bediako is announced. I think Bediako will be back, just as I think Javon Quinterly will be back. I have no problem with them testing the waters. I think that's a smart move, but I think that both of them will be back, and so that will be a help. But, then you're left with, and again, I hate to make these guys sound like leftovers because they're not. Mark Sears is a very good player. It'd be nice to have him back, and maybe he takes a more assertive role next year. Rylan Griffin, same situation. Really love his game, love his hustle, love his attitude. Nick Pringle, maybe he can be a little bit more involved. Alabama fans love what they saw in him. So and then you got some guys coming in. Jaquan Walton, who was from Montgomery, played at Carver High School, and he went to Georgia, and then went to JUCO, and then went to Wichita State for a couple of years, and he did well at Wichita State last year. He really sort of blossomed, and sometimes it takes players a little bit longer to get ready. and I think he can come in and fit the mold. And I know they're looking at a lot of other transfers. I was really excited yesterday. It sounded like Khalil Ware, who's a transfer from Oregon, 7-footer, has got a nice outside shot, number 7 player in the country for last year. It looked like he was going to set a visit to Alabama. In fact, it was announced he was coming to visit Alabama, but he since canceled that visit. My guess is he's going to end up in Indiana. And that's, again, sometimes you just lose a recruiting battle to Indiana. I'm just glad we're fighting those guys for them.
Good points, Luke. It does feel like we're going to get some really good guys for both Auburn and Alabama, and it's going to be needed. And the availability of selling playing time is going to be easy to sell for Auburn and Alabama coming into the offseason. Roll over to the A-Day, talk about Alabama so far during spring practice. Quarterback play has always been a question mark. Not that the question is around how much talent. Alabama's got plenty of talent, but the question is, who will be that starting quarterback as we head into next year?
Well, I joked on the podcast, Locked on Bama, yesterday that I was mad at Nick Saban for saying both quarterbacks played equally well. And, we all know that's probably BS. I mean, and again, it's okay. All coaches do it. I wasn't really mad at him. And it's probably not accurate, but that's okay because you don't want to – here's the deal with Saban. If he tips his hand – right, if he says, okay, Ty Simpson had a bit of a better day yesterday, well, then we as fans are going to run with that like nobody's business. And we're going to say, oh, Ty Simpson's going to win this thing, and it's not close. Told y'all that's what was going to happen. And then should Jalen Milroe come on late and overtake him for the starter's position, everybody will say Ty Simpson choked it away. Or if it's vice versa, it'll be the exact same thing. Because we as fans are so hungry for any bit of information we can get that we will take it and let our imaginations run wild. So it does make it harder to think about next year without knowing who your starting quarterback is, though. I know Auburn fans are kind of going through the same thing. Whatever happens on A-Day today, and I know that I guess it's on ESPN+, and if anybody's watching it, whatever happens, no matter what the weather effect is, no matter what the lineups are, no matter if it's first team against third team, offense, defense, whatever, fans are going to see something that a quarterback does, and they're going to base their whole decision on who's going to be the starter for next year, because that's what fans do. We want to try and be like these investigators that are frankly unnecessary because our opinions don't really have much of an effect on anything. But I personally will maintain that I think Ty Simpson will eventually be the quarterback, and my whole point on it is not that what I've seen Ty Simpson do, but what I've seen of Jalen Milroe. And when I mean that in the nicest way possible, I think it is very possible for both Simpson and Jalen Milroe to be both good quarterbacks. They're both good, right? But I've seen Milroe make more mistakes when he's out there. Now, maybe he made them because he was nervous in the moment. Maybe he made them because he doesn't have enough experience. And Ty Simpson may make those very same mistakes. But I don't know that Ty Simpson will do that yet. I know that Jalen Milroe is capable of it. I know he's capable of holding that ball like a loaf of bread. And I know he's capable of throwing balls well short or well far of a receiver, about as often as he hits a receiver in the numbers. So those things scare me a little bit. Now, of course, you can't duplicate his size, his physique, his athleticism, his speed. I mean, he's a freak of nature when it comes to all those things. And he can put on a wild play every now and again. But I think Ty Simpson also has some of those abilities. Look, he's not going to win a muscle contest against Jalen Milroe. I mean, I don't know who he is. But he is fast enough. And I think Ty Simpson, when he gets in trouble, can think more like, okay, how can I pass my way out of this, which is what coaches want more now, I think, versus, my first read in there, I better take off running. And both of them can have their positives and negatives, but I think right now, especially with the weapons Alabama has at receiver, it's better to try and pass your way out of a problem.
Well, Luke, let's talk position groups. What would you say from a spring perspective has been the biggest strength or positive from a position group and maybe a weakness as we get ready for a new season?
You know, a lot of people have been talking about, I know this isn't necessarily a group. I mean, it is a group, but not what you're referring to. The freshmen have really made some noise. James Smith and Caleb Downs these are two guys that, man, people are singing their praises left and right. Caleb Downs already running with the ones. James Smith has been out there with the one some, which is pretty incredible. Alabama doesn't have, a bunch of Marcel Dariuses out there this year, but they've got a bunch of guys who are good, who are highly touted, who have experience, and James Smith's been able to come in and really wreak some havoc. I think the offensive line has drawn some praise, and the running backs. I mean, look, I'm not trying to just be a complete bammer and say everybody's looked good, because frankly, we didn't get to see the scrimmage yesterday. All we have to go on is what Nick Saban said, and maybe a few little odd and end things that people who were able to sneak in a telephone were able to tell us. But, I trust a lot of these people that I'm talking to about some of this, and Justice Haynes, who's a freshman, he had a 35-yard run yesterday against the number one defense, and then he had a 15-yard run for a touchdown where he ran over a couple of seasoned veterans. And it really caught the eye of people. And before you say, well, Alabama's already got Jason McClellan and Roydell Williams, those running backs, again, I think they're very good. I think they're SEC-level starters on just about every single team, maybe outside of Alabama and Georgia. But if a five-star like Justice Haynes comes in and starts doing things like what I'm hearing he's doing, I think there certainly is an opportunity for him to get several carries in the first game and beyond. So my group answer is more about this signing class, which is really turning out to be everything we hoped it would be.
Which is scary for the rest of us, Luke. I'm just going to
look, this class could go down as really something special for Alabama. I mean, I know he's had a bunch of special classes, but again, you don't really get to evaluate them until later. And you can go back. There was one class, I think it was the class after Tua Tagovailoa maybe, where, boy, that class had, you go back now and you go, oh my God, this thing had some big holes in it. But when you, in the moment for the rankings, you were like, these guys are going to be great. This class, I don't think is going to let people down. I mean, James Smith, Quay Russell, Keon Keeley, who's not even there yet, Justice Haynes, Richard Young, Dylan Lonergan, Eli Holstein, the two quarterbacks, they apparently made some really nice throws yesterday. Again, it's all in a scrimmage, and I don't think Nick Saban is, at this point in his career and with this team, which doesn't have an identity yet, is going to come out and chance anybody having a fragile moment mentally by coming out and saying, boy, we got a lot of work to do, guys. That sucked yesterday. I don't think he's going to do that. So I think he came out with a very positive attitude and gave everybody a little bit more hope. Because, frankly, look, it's not like the world is ending for Alabama or anything. But they lost 2 games last year, didn't make the playoffs. They lost them in the last second. But a lot of Alabama fans still very disappointed in that season. Then, of course, the basketball season comes around. You do a lot of great things. You win the tournament. You win the SEC regular season. Make it to the Sweet 16, which has always been a glass ceiling for Alabama. And you get put out by a team that goes to the Final Four or actually goes to the national championship game. And you shouldn't be disappointed because that's not bad. But you are disappointed. So it was good to hear some very, very good news come out of Nick Saban's mouth yesterday.
Luke, we appreciate the phone call, buddy. Stay off the roads. It looks like it's pretty rough out there, but appreciate it and look forward to talking to you next week.
Yeah, I was supposed to coach a girls' soccer game this morning. Not going to be doing that.
No, you got out of that, Luke. You got out of it. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it.
All right. Appreciate it, buddy. Have a good weekend.
See you, Luke.
Go ahead and take another break here on Sports Blitz.
They say we live in an age of big data, where computers and fancy algorithms are supposed to know you best. But at Country Financial, we know helping you own your future requires, well, something much bigger. Contact your local Country Financial representative and start planning for your future with a personal touch.
If you're tired of the same old, and you're hungry for something really good, then it's time to go to JR's Sports Bar and Grill. JR's has the best fingers and wings around, and their menu is loaded with appetizers, burgers, salads, and so much more. Follow JR's on their Facebook to keep up with their live music events and drink specials. And if after a long day you just want to stay in, remember JR's delivers. Call in your order at 256-329-2328. JR Sports Bar and Grill, 145 Alabama Street in Alexander City.
Okay, somebody's not wearing their seatbelt.
I don't wear seat belts. Might wrinkle my shirt.
That's okay. I'm sure they can iron it before the funeral.
What funeral?
Yours. Almost 70% of people who die in car crashes aren't wearing a seatbelt.
Okay. There. You happy?
Just happy to be alive.
Seatbelts. It's hard to live without them. Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
Life is a sequence of little successes. The story of my Southern Union success began the day I walked on campus, making new friends, mastering a new skill, reaching a personal goal, the encore performance, the first date, the internship, and now, soon, the dream job. That's the story of my Southern Union success. Register for classes and get ready to watch your Southern Union story come to life.
When you need an automotive hero, you got to call S&S Discount Tire Pros. With locations in Alexander City and Dadeville, we are here to serve you today. From quick services like oil changes and tire rotations to in-depth automotive repairs such as suspensions, brakes, and tune-ups, S&S can take care of all your tire needs. You just have to focus on what's important and love the drive. Call S&S Discount Tire Pros today. We are automotive heroes, and we are here to serve you.
Kalijah Idol 15, the semifinals, is happening in the River Region this Saturday night at Alabama's Little Bit of Texas. It's Kalijah Idol 15, the semifinals.
It's pouring outside. I'm sure you can hear it pounding on the roof above Scott and myself this morning as we're in the television studio, and it's been raining since we got in here. So if you've got updates on A-Day game, send them our way. It can't be on.
I mean, it doesn't seem like it would be much use to do it. I mean, you want to be able to give them the best opportunity to get some live action, and I don't think you can get a good view of what we got because of what we have going on outside.
James called in. He had some questions for us, so I'll present them to you, and then I'll give my take on it. First off, quarterback, our thoughts around the quarterback and the things you've heard coming out of camp and your feel on where we stand, and maybe another question to add on there at the end that you can answer after you go through the ones that we currently have. Is Auburn going to go out there and bring one more quarterback in before the fall?
I'm going to continue to ride with Team Robbie. I just that's my guy, and I think that he presents the best opportunity to succeed with who our head coach is and the type of system he runs. For 2 years, we got to experience your disdain for why we never tried to run an offense that allowed Malik Willis to be what he became at Liberty. So we're hoping that same thing could be applied. I'm rooting for Robbie in that, but I think that this is the best quarterback room we've had in a while from a potential standpoint. So because of who we have as a coach and the staff that's around, I think the quarterback position is going to be elevated regardless who's at the position. But I think Robbie provides the most upside for the team, especially because of still some of the holes that we have left from last year's debacle.
Yeah, I think Hugh Freeze has said this, and I agree with him because I tried to argue it for Malik Willis for many years. You can't weigh how he's playing in practice when you got a yellow shirt on him. His skill set's not based around that. His skill set does need to throw the football with accuracy. Yeah. That's got to be cleaned up, and Auburn's accuracy issues have reared their ugly head for far too long. I think Jarrett Stidham is the last Auburn quarterback that had a top 20 accuracy rating in college football. And in today's world, when you're trying to get the ball to super receivers, when you're trying to get it in the hands of these great athletes, you got to be able to consistently when an open receiver's running out there. So I'm not taking away that we need Robbie to do that better. But I always felt like Malik could do that if given the opportunity. But Robbie's skill set's a lot like Malik's. When you get into the game and all things break down, he can go make a play. And it's not just a basic play that he can go make. He from a speed standpoint, can go make plays that everybody wants to point back to Cam Newton. when I watch Robbie run, Robbie's at a different level.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Robbie's
he's more Nick Marshall.
And I think he's faster than Nick Marshall. Maybe a little bit. Nick Marshall was physical, but Robbie also he's a bigger guy. He just feels like he brings a little bit more to the game. I don't know how well he runs the option, which Nick Marshall ran beautifully. He was great at that. So, you know, I'm with you. I want to stick with Robbie. I'd like to see him progress throwing the football, but I think all the skill set that I like in a college quarterback, and also that Hugh Freeze has proven with Malik Willis that he can coach up and get the best out of, is right there in that room. He's really bragged on Holden Gariner.
Yeah.
And all the receivers that have played with him, including the ones that were in pro day, really brag on the ball that he throws. And after a while, when you keep hearing that over and over again, there's some truth there. So Holden Gariner, I think, is the one that's maybe the outsider looking in, but could be a really good option if given the opportunity. And I do feel like with T.J. Finley, I don't see there's any chance of that happening, that Auburn may go during this offseason and bring in the best option that's not going to be a starter for another team. I'm still going to stick with you. I'm going to stick with you out on this because, you know, I like that style of quarterback with Robbie Ashford, but it may be a situation where Auburn needs to bring in a third one if T.J. Finley moves on.
Yeah, I mean, even if he doesn't, you probably need to. I mean, no knock on him because I was a big TJ guy coming into last year's season, but just didn't pan out. But I think that the way that the game is shifting, I would rather have somebody who, if you could sit in the 60-ish range percentage-wise completion, and you have the athletic ability, I'll ride with that over the person who's maybe limited some athletically, but, you know, just throws the pristine ball. I think you can do more things with somebody who's able to make things happen on their own compared to being stuck in a system. But
as long as you can get the ball down the field.
Yeah.
Which is what Nick Marshall could do, Scott. He could get the ball down the field to make the big play. And I've seen this stat with how strong teams were under Gus Malzahn when he had a quarterback rush for over 800 yards. You take the Nick Marshalls and the Cam Newtons and the others. When he had a quarterback that you could really depend on going out there and scaring the opposition, and Robbie Ashford scares everybody we play with the opportunity of making big plays. So I'm sticking with you on that. I think a lot of question marks have been around the offensive line play for the last 5 or 6 years. I had a good friend of ours that went over to practice this past week, and last year he went to practice, and the first thing he said was, this offensive line's terrible. I don't have any idea what we're coaching these guys. No way that college offensive linemen should look like this out in practice, and he's a football coach too. So he sees things you and I probably wouldn't as not being football coaches. He went this year, went last week, man, he was bragging on the offensive line. Bragging on the look of the offensive line and the way that they were getting after it. And I trust his judgment. Don't want to throw his name out there just in case you're not supposed to be out there and watching and giving judgments like this. But I do trust his judgment. And the offensive line, you know, some starters that I've heard, left tackle Dylan Wade, left guard Connor Liu, Avery Jones at center, Cam Stutz at right guard, and Gunnar Britton. 3 of those all newcomers to the Auburn roster, and 3 of them highly sought after transfers and also commits that Auburn's able to bring in. So hopefully we can change the dynamic in that room more than others, Scott.
Yeah, I think that's where it starts. Everything is predicated upon the ability to provide running lanes and protect your quarterback. So primarily protecting your quarterback. And I think that the vibe around I was asking Luke about position groups. That's a position group that seems to be getting a lot of positive attention compared to what we've heard for the last, half a decade, really, almost maybe more than that. So I think that if Auburn continues to build in that room, then the success that we're looking for in the Freeze will take place.
Hugh Freeze comes out this past week and says Jarquez Hunter's the best running back maybe he's ever coached. He's been coaching a long time. Auburn fans are cheering him on with that. I love Jarquez Hunter. I think that he being the number one option, can we get what we got out of Ben Tate? Can we get what we got out of a lot of other running backs that were right behind someone in front of them, and then when they get there, Cameron Artis-Payne? Can we get as much out of Jarquez Hunter as we got out of those two guys, and just to bring up a couple over the last 15 years that we have gotten a lot out of once they got their chance.
Yeah, and I thought that was a mouthful when he said that, because, I mean, he's coached some good ones, but the skill set is there, and I was interested on what he would look like as an every down back, because he can catch the ball, he can, runs, but I think that him being utilized as a pass catcher will elevate this offense even more. So I would expect him to get, 3 or 4 pass attempts his way a game. So for Freeze to give that type of praise lets you know what type of camp he's had and what we should be expecting come fall.
Well, it's going to be a fun year. It's newcomers. It's a new face there at coaching staff. Still got some Auburn favorites that are part of this coaching staff that's out there in recruiting. So much good buzz coming just here in this state with the efforts that Cadillac and many others are having on the recruiting front, much better than what I've heard over the last probably decade when it comes to the state of Alabama and how that we're getting out there and recruiting. So signs are pointing to positives. You got to kind of have tempered expectations, I think, when you go into this season.
So that's why I want to say that.
Yeah.
To all my Auburn fans out there, dude, I don't want y'all calling in here week 1 or 2, and if things aren't going the way that y'all thought it was going to under Freeze, let this man have some time to get the system right. This is who the fans were pushing for. This is who they wanted. You got who you wanted. The administration answered the call. So now give him the time necessary to build the program. I don't want to have this conversation next year. Is Freeze the guy? We won't know for a while because the roster was so depleted and terrible. There was no resources coming in financially, so we really weren't involved in the NIL game. All of that's changing now. The relations between the high schools are so much better. So I was not the biggest proponent of this being the hire, but I've bought in, and I think that as fans, we need to do our job to support who the guy is, and that's our guy. So sorry for that, but I don't want to have these conversations about did we make the right hire. We won't know for a while.
I'm going to leave it there. Go ahead and take another break here on Sports Blitz.
WF Cabinetry in Alex City has immediate openings for first and second shift production roles, in addition to immediate openings for Class A CDL drivers with the ability to be at home weekly. We're ready for you to join our family and grow with us. Prior cabinet experience is always welcome. Second shift offers a flexible 10-hour, 4-day work schedule, giving you a great work-life balance right here at home. WF Cabinetry offers excellent health insurance and 401k benefits, as well as an employee purchase discount with daily production bonus opportunities. You can apply in person at 2212 Airport Boulevard in Alexander City, or call 256-234-7900.
Have you stopped by Lifesavers Mission Thrift Store lately? If you haven't, you should. You'll find great pieces for your favorite do-it-yourself project. Lightly used name brand clothing by Free People, North Face, Matilda Jane, Patagonia, and a whole lot more. And while you're there, don't miss the shoes, decorative pieces, classic and new books, and Auburn and Alabama gear that won't cost you a fortune. So stop and shop at Lifesavers Mission Thrift Store today for a unique thrift experience that won't break the budget. Lifesavers Mission Thrift, located on East University behind Zaxby's.
Whether it's Lake Martin, Lay Lake, or Logan Martin, boaters from all over the state of Alabama come to Alex City Marine, just off Highway 280 in Alexander City, Alabama, because it's worth the drive. With the best deals on unbeatable Suzuki outboards, Manitou and Landau Tritoons, and a great pre-owned inventory while they last. Alex City Marine is the pros the locals know. And no matter where you're from, when you're here, you're local to us. Alex City Marine, just off Highway 280 in Alexander City, Alabama. AlexCityMarine.com.
Heritage South Credit Union in Alexander City is your community credit union, and they have been for over 80 years. Heritage South Credit Union proudly serves Tallapoosa, Coosa, Lee, Chambers, Randolph, and Chilton counties. From checking to business accounts, to share savings to club accounts, to their kids club and investments. Visit them online at myhscu.com. Heritage South Credit Union, your community credit union for 80 years. Federally insured by NCUA.
Planting season is here, and the Potting Shed Garden Center is happy to give you professional landscaping advice when it comes to planting your shrubs and trees. Auburn's best kept secret will have it all this fall. Mums, pansies, pumpkins, and much more. All an array of colors and sizes, along with beautiful pots and containers, indoor plants, and a great selection of other gardening gifts. It's all at the Potting Shed Garden Shop, where natural elements reign supreme. Located on the corner of Moore's Mill and Society Hill Road in Auburn.
GillsOpelika.info. Get pre-approved in minutes online at GillsOpelika.info for a pre-owned car, truck, or SUV from Gills Auto Sales, 1430 Gateway Drive in Opelika. OGS Tournaments. Russell Marine and State Farm agent Aaron Warren present Crank for Bank 2023, April 1st through July 4th. Win over $1.5 million in cash and prizes. Over 200 tag bass and 50 tag crappie are waiting on you. All ages are welcome. Fish from the dock, boat, or shores of Lake Martin. Get registered now online at crankforbank.com for only $110 for 13 weeks of fishing. It's Crank for Bank 2023.
Scott, I saw him passing, but wasn't watching, of course, while it was live yesterday, and really don't know the storyline behind it. But trees falling down at Augusta.
On 7.
What happened?
Well, the wind was, I don't even know how to explain it. You couldn't even tell what direction the wind was coming from. It was so bad. It was making it very difficult for the players to make some educated guesses on their shot depth and club use and all of that. But on 17 yesterday, 2 trees fell, and if you watch the video, it looks like they said nobody was injured, but it looked like at least one person kind of got caught in between. But the wind was just unbelievable yesterday and made it very, very tough on the players. That's why the weather was so good Thursday. You needed to be under par Thursday to really have made a chance to make a run at the tournament.
We've got a lot of major names that are sitting here on this leaderboard, and they started up early this morning, correct? So the goal was to get yesterday's rounds finished up this morning and then start the cut rounds this afternoon or around lunch today.
Yeah.
Is that where the start was today as well?
Yeah, I think it started at 8 this morning. Well, I guess it would have been 7 for us. So I think they started not too long ago. And Brooks Koepka, 12 under, leader right now. It was 65 Thursday, 67 Friday. And, I mean, he was lights out. And that's the Brooks that people had got accustomed to seeing. But names like Spieth or like Rory was a little lower than what I would have expected had he been playing, but the name that we all look forward to talking about every year is Tiger, and he was 2 over after 11 when they suspended play, and looks like the projected cut's going to be 2 over, so hopefully he can do what he needs to do to finish out this round.
I think he's out on the course right now. I think he's 1 under on the round today.
Right,
he's at +1, so he's in a good spot to make the cut if he sits there. John Rahm's currently second at -10. The storyline, I guess the biggest storyline is Bennett, the amateur, at -8. Talk about him, Scott.
Yeah, you always like watching those types of players where, they have nothing to lose. Like, this is just, they're out here playing. And, I mean, he had a couple hole outs and some very nice putts. But after about the 3rd or 4th hole Thursday, I think he started to settle in really, and he's playing some dang good golf. So, those are always the stories that I look forward to, but he's playing really good.
Young sitting at -7, Morikawa's at -6, Hovland's at -6, Day at -5, Burns -5, Spieth comes in -5. I guess one of the biggest storylines, Mickelson. Mickelson's -4, he's tied for 10th. Anybody see that happening?
I didn't, especially, I mean, the LIV and PGA back and forth. So I was hoping that we'd see some of that drama over the weekend.
So right now, Tiger has given one back, so he's +2. He's on 17. He's through 17, so he's at 18. He's right on the cut line. The projected cut line is +2, which is where he is, so it's going to 18. Schwartzel, all of these on the projected cut line are already finished. So if he pars on 18, he will make the projected cut, but man, it's down to that final hole, and there's a lot of people that are going to be cheering for him to par out right here on 18.
Absolutely, and I feel bad for him. I mean, his skill set still is the same. It's just he can't walk. I mean, it's unbearable for him to walk these rounds, and so that's why he really only competes in the Masters and maybe a couple other tournaments here and there. But he can't walk. He can't walk, so it just puts a lot of pressure on him. But this is
and today, you know, you have to add on to that today that you're going out there this morning to finish up a round from yesterday. If he does make this cut after a par on 18, he'll have to go back out there and play 18 more holes this afternoon. And it's not ideal weather. What is it, about 50 degrees?
Yeah, this not
great weather for us old folks like Tiger getting out there and moving around, especially with the issues that he's had. But the Masters is here. Always fun. You got Easter weekend. You got the Masters. A lot of people would say this is about as good as it gets, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite sporting event is March Madness. Like that's my favorite thing. But Masters weekend is or Masters week in the weekend is my favorite thing to do. Just sit there and you just watch, because there's always a new storyline unfolding daily. But I think we're in for a good show. If the weather cooperates, I think we're in for a good show.
Well, the weather's not cooperating here in Tallapoosa County in the Lake Martin region. It's pouring outside, and it's been pouring since we've been sitting here over the last hour and 40 minutes. So we'll go ahead and take another break. When we come back, let's talk SEC baseball, see where Auburn and Alabama are. Auburn 1-2 on the weekend. Texas A&M winning the series. Tough loss yesterday. Auburn walked a lot of batters yesterday. I think 20-plus batters, again, walked yesterday. So a tough outing, and the pitching right now is suspect. And hitting the baseball, scoring runs, that's been a nice change-up for Auburn with some new names like Ike Irish that we'll talk about. But for the most part, could be a tough year, and we'll talk more about that on the other side.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you're about to hear is true, and the names have been changed because Brubaker Motors has sold to Sons Automotive. You heard right. Brubaker CDJR is now Sons Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Montgomery. Furthermore, Sons Automotive is a family business with dealerships throughout the Southeast. The name Sons Automotive is synonymous with trust, and they care about the communities they're a part of. They're excited to serve the River region, and in the interest of justice, you will be served a sentence of big savings. Sons CDJR of Montgomery, family owned, family driven.
At C&T Electric, our clients are our priority. For the safety and security of your family and home, our technicians are professionally trained, drug tested, background checked, and wear uniforms with name tags. We're proud to have served the Elk City, Dadeville, and Lake Martin areas for the past 10 years. Give us a call at 256-234-0007 for all your electrical service and repair needs, or visit us on the web at www.cntelectricllc.com and spell out the word "and."
Have you met your local Farmers Insurance agent, Patrick Holina? He proudly serves Tallapoosa County and Alexander City families and businesses and is ready to review your existing policies or provide a no-obligation quote today. Call the Holina Agency at 256-234-0037 or stop in today at 704 Commerce Drive to get smarter about your insurance. Again, that's the Holina Agency, 256-234-0037.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
The food at Oscar's Cafe makes your mouth water. At Oscar's, enjoy great tasting catfish, or maybe you're just in the mood for one of Oscar's fresh salads. Even kids know the place for a fine meal is Oscar's with a great kids menu. Oscar's also has great tasting burgers full of backyard flavor. So come on out to Oscar's Cafe for great food and homegrown hospitality. We're located on Highway 49 South in Dadeville, just before the Blue Creek Bridge. And remember, it's all fun and games till there's only one cheese ball left.
Life is a sequence of little successes. The story of my Southern Union success began the day I walked on campus, making new friends, mastering a new skill, reaching a personal goal, the encore performance, the first date, the internship, and now, soon, the dream job. That's the story of my Southern Union success. Register for classes and get ready to watch your Southern Union story come to life.
Talladega Outdoors in Talladega is your authorized Kawasaki sale and service center. Your home for Bad Boy mowers and Kimco scooters, four-wheelers, and side-by-sides. Rather for hunting, land management, or recreation, they have the ride for you. But they are also everything outdoor with full lines of accessories and is now your Ariat workwear and boot store, along with kayaks and outdoor accessories. Talladega Outdoor, Highway 21 in Talladega. Everything outdoor and Alabama's #1 Kawasaki dealer.
SEC baseball standings, if you're an SEC East fan, buddy, you better have a super team to compete on that side. SEC West, you know, when you look at the overall wins and losses on the SEC West side, you can make a comeback late in the season, but it's getting to the level now that you better start making that run. And Auburn, unfortunately, this weekend at home, going 1-2 against Texas A&M, winning that middle game, and then coming back yesterday and getting behind early and unable to come back late, and a lot of walks, a lot of pitching woes when it comes to Auburn right now. Running down SEC West, it's LSU at 7-4 in the conference, 26-5 overall. It's Arkansas 7-4 in the conference, 24-6 overall. Then all the other SEC West teams having a losing record in conference play. Texas A&M at 5-7, Alabama at 4-7, Auburn at 4-8, Ole Miss at 2-9, Mississippi State at 2-9. Do you ever think that you would see this late in the season an Ole Miss and Mississippi State team where they're in the bottom of the SEC West, both 2-9, and then their overall record's not any better? Ole Miss 18-12 overall, Mississippi State 18-14. Didn't think I'd see that, Scott.
No, I mean, not especially for a team that just was just won a championship. I mean,
both of them did. Yeah.
I mean, it's not. I mean, that's weird, but I think it's even more trouble in Mississippi State. Like, we're not accustomed to that. Not that Ole Miss hasn't been good for a while, but like you could see it. Mississippi State baseball in this conference is like Florida, Georgia, Alabama, LSU in football. Like, you expect them to make runs, and it's tough. And I mean, they're catching heat from alumni, former player. I mean, it's tough right now in Starkville.
Well, that's their sport.
Yeah.
You know, it becomes kind of like Kentucky in basketball. You know, some sports you're okay. You can go 7-4 from a year, but if you're Kentucky basketball and you're not competing for SEC championships and national titles, it's a terrible year. Mississippi State, they feel the same. If you're not competing for an SEC championship, both in the regular season and in the tournament, and right there in the thick of things to host a super regional and to move on and play for a College World Series, it's a down year, and that's what that program's become. But it's not what it is this year unless things turn on a dime. Look, Ole Miss turned it on a dime last year. They start the season ranked #1 in the nation, have a really bad start to the year, and then get it together and get their pitching together and get their rotation with their pitching together, and next thing you know, they're winning a national championship. So it can happen. But in the SEC, if you don't get things turned around quickly, you're going to look down, you're going to have a terrible record. SEC East is strong, my friends. Vanderbilt's 10-1 in conference, 25-6 overall. Kentucky's 9-1 in the conference. South Carolina's back to their winning ways. Looks like they're getting back to where they were when Tanner was the head coach, and where they had that thing in the late 90s, early 2000s. They're 9-2 in the conference, 28-4 overall. Florida's 9-2 in the conference. Tennessee, Missouri 4-7, and Georgia comes in at 1-9. My gosh, every year it looks like Georgia's got a record like that. But SEC East, if you're not one of the best teams in the country, you can't compete there.
Yeah, and just side note real quickly. How is Georgia terrible at everything but football?
But football.
I mean, they're terrible at everything. But you're right. You look at those, the SEC East makes up probably 5 of those teams are top 15 teams. Two or three of them top 10 teams. I mean, that's tough. So we see it what happens in college football in the SEC West, but that SEC East is dang good, and I'm glad to see South Carolina coming back. Like, that was when I was coming up, that was the team. South Carolina was the team, so good to see that.
Good to see it, and they can embrace it up there, and baseball is king in the high school ranks, and we'll see if they can get back to the level they were. We'll go ahead and take another break here on Sports Blitz. Be our last one of the program.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you're about to hear is true, and the names have been changed because Brubaker Motors has sold to Sons Automotive. You heard right. Brubaker CDJR is now Sons Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Montgomery. Furthermore, Sons Automotive is a family business with dealerships throughout the Southeast. The name Sons Automotive is synonymous with trust, and they care about the communities they're a part of. They're excited to serve the River region, and in the interest of justice, you will be served a sentence of big savings. Sons CDJR of Montgomery, family owned, family driven.
At C&T Electric, our clients are our priority. For the safety and security of your family and home, our technicians are professionally trained, drug tested, background checked, and wear uniforms with name tags. We're proud to have served the Elk City, Dadeville, and Lake Martin areas for the past 10 years. Give us a call at 256-234-0007 for all your electrical service and repair needs, or visit us on the web at www.cntelectricllc.com and spell out the word "and."
Have you met your local Farmers Insurance agent, Patrick Holina? He proudly serves Tallapoosa County and Alexander City families and businesses and is ready to review your existing policies or provide a no-obligation quote today. Call the Holina Agency at 256-234-0037 or stop in today at 704 Commerce Drive to get smarter about your insurance. Again, that's the Holina Agency, 256-234-0037.
We are farmers. Bum, ba, bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
The food at Oscar's Cafe makes your mouth water. At Oscar's, enjoy great tasting catfish, or maybe you're just in the mood for one of Oscar's fresh salads. Even kids know the place for a fine meal is Oscar's with a great kids menu. Oscar's also has great tasting burgers full of backyard flavor. So come on out to Oscar's Cafe for great food and homegrown hospitality. We're located on Highway 49 South in Dadeville, just before the Blue Creek Bridge. And remember, it's all fun and games till there's only one cheese ball left.
Life is a sequence of little successes. The story of my Southern Union success began the day I walked on campus, making new friends, mastering a new skill, reaching a personal goal, the encore performance, the first date, the internship, and now, soon, the dream job. That's the story of my Southern Union success. Register for classes and get ready to watch your Southern Union story come to life.
Talladega Outdoors in Talladega is your authorized Kawasaki sale and service center. Your home for Bad Boy Mowers and Kimco Scooters, four-wheelers, and side-by-sides. Rather for hunting, land management, or recreation, they have the ride for you. But they are also everything outdoor with full lines of accessories and is now your Ariat workwear and boot store, along with kayaks and outdoor accessories. Talladega Outdoor, Highway 21 in Talladega. Everything outdoor and Alabama's #1 Kawasaki dealer.
Scott, we talked about this last week and want to get your thoughts on it because I haven't hit you up with it. It seems like Charles Barkley's on the media. Like he's the one that's on all the interviews, and I'm hearing more and more stuff coming out from Charles Barkley. But I thought it was pretty funny that he was on 60 Minutes a couple of weeks ago, and he says, you know, please, whatever you do, college basketball, don't get this thing politicized to where you're going to send this in front of Congress for them to make decisions on college basketball. Don't screw up the sport that I love by allowing them that none of us trust anyway on both sides, both parties, none of us trust them. Charles can say things that others can't and get away with it, can't he, Scott?
Yeah, I think that there are people that, as Americans, we give a pass for them to say whatever they want to say. Yeah. And there's really no repercussions, because they're saying the things that people want to say, but just aren't afforded the luxury of doing so. Now, for the most part, comedians play a huge role in the country in doing that and addressing things and putting a comedic tone on things to soften it, but telling you the truth in the process. Charles does that, but there's no sugarcoating. It's very direct, and I think that's the most respectable thing about it. And he does not care if you value his opinion or agree with it. Not necessarily value, but if you agree with or disagree with his opinion, he's speaking how he feels, and we need more of that. We need people to be comfortable in saying a spade's a spade or it's not a spade and be okay with that. And I think that he's somebody that this country should cherish because that's awesome.
Auburn recognizing Frank Thomas this weekend and a statue going up for him. Very deserved. Not only for what he did at Auburn. I was a little too young to remember his heyday at Auburn, and I can only imagine the frame that he had and how well he swung a bat with a metal bat in his hand, how dangerous that could have been out there. But not many professional athletes have gotten to the level that Frank Thomas coming out of any of our universities. And he's as good as we've had here in the SEC with what he went on to the professional ranks and pulled off. You know, he's a Hall of Famer and a very deserved Hall of Famer and one of the best baseball players of our generation.
Yeah, and at times I've felt like he probably hasn't received the love from Auburn specifically that he probably deserves, but nice to see that they're making a shift to change that. But, I mean, not saying he has to be the same type of ambassador that Charles Barkley's been, but we have a recency bias a lot of times with Cam, and, you know, the still would elevate Pat Sullivan, which is great, but still Frank Thomas was phenomenal athlete at Auburn and phenomenal, and also Bo Jackson, but phenomenal in the pros, and to have a Hall of Famer come through, I think that's great that he's getting recognized, but I think he deserves a lot more attention than what he's receiving.
And he's getting it. You know, you get a statue out in front of Auburn, and you get recognized the way that he is this weekend. Many of us respect him and respect watching and how great he was, man, because he was not a Tony Gwynn type, but he was a hitter like that. You know, he took hitting to a different level. You know, Scott, he just had the ability to swing and hit the ball out of the park, of course, but was very confident in his play at the plate, could swing it and hit the ball all over the park. He was special, and I'm glad he was an Auburn Tiger, and I'm glad that we recognize him the way that we did. Good program today. We knocked it around, Scott. We went a little politically incorrect there at times, and tried to get your thoughts out there, but we want to thank all of you for tuning in each and every Saturday from 7 to 9 here on the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. For Scott Hardy, I'm Randy Lee saying thanks for tuning in.
Concrete Basement and Walls, LLC, 205-229-0234. Call owner Eric McKenzie now to get your free quote now. 205-229-0234. Concrete Basement and Walls, LLC.
76% of nurses say they went into the profession because they wanted to help patients. No matter the reason you decided to become a nurse, you have all the tools needed to advance your degree at Jacksonville State University. Our Master's in Nursing program is now offered fully online and can be completed in less than 2 years. You can customize a flexible course schedule so you can receive your advanced education degree all while working on the front line. JSU Nursing, your opportunity to advance your career and serve your community.
So, you finally got the boat, ATV, or side-by-side of your dreams, huh? Then make it yours with marine-grade audio that'll provide crisp, high-quality sound that's loud enough to be heard, whether you're cruising on the lake or hitting a mud hole. Come see Steve at the Car Stereo Shop in Auburn, so you'll be ready to crank up the volume. Whoa, but wait, you don't have to pull out of the water and trailer it to Auburn. The Car Stereo Shop can handle all of your work at any one of the Lake Martin marinas.
SCAG, the toughest name in lawnmowers. Unmatched quality and performance for over 3 decades. The clear choice, the best mower money can buy for work or at home. Top lawn care professionals and discerning homeowners know that SCAG means productivity and reliability. Every SCAG mower is proudly built right here in the USA. Don't settle for anything less than simply the best. SCAG.
Satterfield Outdoor Living on Highway 280 in Alex City.
At Medical, we're proud of our exceptional nurses, like Nurse Brandy Worthy. Brandy represents the selfless, compassionate clinical leader patients expect and coworkers admire. Brandy was recently honored with the Nightingale Award for Nursing Excellence for her high standards, sound judgment, and caring manner. Her passion for her profession inspires us all.
Being a nurse is not just what you do, it's who you are. I'm proud to be a part of the nursing team at Russell Medical. We are the link between all hospital services, providing you with exceptional, personalized care.
If you're tired of the same old and you're hungry for something really good, then it's time to go to JR's Sports Bar and Grill. JR's has the best fingers and wings around, and their menu is loaded with appetizers, burgers, salads, and so much more. Follow JR's on their Facebook to keep up with their live music events and drink specials. And if after a long day you just want to stay in, remember JR's delivers. Call in your order at 256-329-2328. JR Sports Bar and Grill, 145 Alabama Street in Alexander City.
Tails are wagging and pets are bragging about Zoom to Groom. Columbus, Phoenix City, and Smith Station. Zoom to Groom comes to you. It's mobile pet grooming from the comfort of your driveway. Schedule your appointment now online at zoomtogroom.net or by phone at 334-740-9909.
Farmers and Merchants Bank of Dadeville is building a foundation of strength and trust in the entire Lake Martin community. With our modern branch in Dadeville and caring, attentive staff, we've established Farmers and Merchants Bank as a reliable friend to your banking needs. Whether it's just a savings or checking account or any commercial, auto, or real estate loan, Farmers has local decision-making to build a relationship with you and your needs. Farmers and Merchants Community Bank. Strength, service, community.
So you want to build a home? Build the home you want with America's Home Place. Choose from over 150 floor plans, then personalize. Tile backsplash with granite countertops? Done. A spacious bathroom you've always dreamed of? You got it. Choose every detail, floors, cabinets, even the paint color.
How about electric lime?
Can't decide? Relax. At America's Home Place, we take care of it all. It's your home. Own it. America's Home Place.
Why is Sarah Automotive Group on Highway 280 in Sylacauga the place for the best deals on your new ride? 3 compelling reasons. 1. With 3 full new car dealers on one lot, you get the best in comparison and incentives on Fords, Hondas, and Nissans. Unmatched selection. 2. Sarah pays over market value for your trade to maintain East Central Alabama's best pre-owned vehicle selection and sale. And 3. The Sarah Automotive price won't be beat and delivers lower payments and huge value on your next buy. Shop online or on Highway 280 in Sylacauga.